Fraser McReight. Thank you so much for joining the Life of Chance podcast. How's your morning been?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Em. Yeah, it's been pretty good. Obviously, playing the fourth tomorrow, so it's had captain's round, and yeah, feeling excited, feeling fresh. So yeah, pumped.
Yeah, cool. So we're going to kick off with like some easy questions, warm you into it, I suppose, and then we'll get into some where you've come from, what you've like your journey in rugby, as well as the obvious key questions in the Life of Chance podcast about when you've taken a chance and it paid off and when someone else has taken a chance on you. But I'll leave those to simmer for now.
Yeah, of course.
Nickname. What's your nickname? What do the boys call you?
Well, I sort of get phrase or
Yeah.
I get franger. So
Franger.
franger, yeah, one of those two.
Where's Franger come from?
I don't know where franger comes from or phrase frang. I don't. It just sprung out of the air and then it sort of just stuck. So
Just like a
I get a
classic
mix
nickname.
between yeah, stuck between either phrase because it's pretty easy or franger, just whatever they want to throw at me.
Nice, nice. Did you play any other sports growing up?
Yeah, played cricket, a fair bit of cricket. So played at school, played at club level. So I'd probably say that was probably the other sport that took up a lot of time, but also at school played volleyball. Um,
Ah,
Sort of when
interesting.
I got older, yeah.
What like did you always like where did volleyball come from for the fam?
Um, well, my school was actually quite dominant and very good at volleyball, but it was more just the fact that I think, or one of my close mates, actually my roommate now, but we were playing cricket together, and I think we were both like, oh, cricket when you're about 14, 15 takes up 8 hours on a Saturday. Um, Probably wasn't enjoying it as much as I was then. So I was like, oh, I'll switch to volleyball. You're done in an hour. We were pretty good. So we always won. So that's probably where it shifted from. But looking back on it, I probably wish I stayed with cricket. But
Really?
yeah,
Why? Because you
because I
love
love,
what do you love watching cricket?
yeah, I love watching cricket. I did love playing cricket. I just think maybe I thought I didn't want to really do it back then. But then you kind of realize playing with your mates would have been a lot, pretty cool to do
Yeah, fair.
when I was a
Ah,
bit older, like 17 and
yeah, yeah. Um, Hobbies or passions outside of rugby? What do you do when you're not playing?
what do most people
If
do?
there's
Probably
any
play,
time.
yeah, probably play golf.
Yep.
Bit of golfer. But I'm still studying, so
What are you
almost
studying?
graduate accounting. So
Nice.
I've got one more, almost finished this subject, and I've got one more, and then I'm graduated. So long, probably just those two. I love the beach as well, so try to get to the beach as much as I can, especially in
Really?
Queensland.
What's the thing with the Wallabies boys and a love for golf or just rugby boys in general? Do you know where like is it just an opportunity to move completely away from rugby or is it like what is it? I don't understand.
I don't know. I think every time I've been in like the Wallaby environment, I haven't really played much golf. I think probably over the past 2 years, I've really got in my golf, or 2 seasons, just because here at the Reds we have a pretty close group, and then it's like me, Harry Wilson, Lawson Cron, and Josh Nasser. Like it's just normally us four we play together, so just really close, and it's fun to get out. And I think now to go back, it's a great way to get away from footy. You can go out there and you know depending on time because it's good. 4.5 hours, but
Yeah.
I think you can just get away from everything in life, and you can just focus on a simple game. You chat a bit of rubbish with your mates, and yeah, I think that's probably where everyone loves it.
Fair
Don't play
enough.
too pretty poor at it, so it's just good to
That
get
was going to be
away.
the next question. Are you good or?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, golf is the hardest game. So
Yeah.
difficult, but still good to be out there in the
Yeah.
sun.
Yeah, that's it. It's the nice time factor and then that desire because everyone has one good shot, right? And then you strive for
Oh,
the for that feeling again.
100%. Yeah, yeah. You hit that one good shot, it brings you back the next week. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. You're all nuts. I can't stand it. But it's probably because I'm no good. That's it. Favorite music or song that you're listening to right now?
favorite music or song right now? Um, I got a fair few. Like right now, I'll go. What am I listening to? I like that new $1 Million Baby song. That's a good
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
I've also what else? The Daniel Caesar songs, Best Part and Get You. I'd probably say I've got that. I just found them not too long ago, so I've had them on repeat recently.
Yeah, good, good.
Bit more of an emotional sort of song, so depends what feel you're in. Give them a hit.
Perfect. Perfect. I will. And if you could be any animal, what would you be and why?
Animal. I think I'm torn. I think being I think being a tiger would be cool because like you're in the jungle and you're pretty alpha and
Yeah.
it's not like you're in water like on land or
Yeah.
like an eagle. You just can't beat like a flying species. That's top of the food chain. I think that'd be cool to be able to fly, see the earth. I'm assuming my brain's still inside of an eagle's head,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah. Yeah.
can sort
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
yeah yeah.
You- Cool. Cool. Good justifications. Although I do query why tiger, not a lion?
Mine would be cool, but you're just in the middle of nowhere, you're just in desert, like or the Sahara, all that sort of stuff. Well, not Sahara, but like in the
Yeah.
savannah. It's all
Yeah.
just open. I feel like the tiger there's so much in there and stuff like that. It's more of a jungle, a bit more to do. I don't know.
Cool. Cool.
But
I
then
like
you
it.
also got to fend for yourself, so a
They're
bit
still
more
part of a
going on.
pack. They still travel in
Yeah,
packs, don't they? Yeah.
I think so. Oh,
Great. All right. So let's move into a little bit of rugby talk. In
cool.
terms of like your Reds debut, you debuted in well, you got a contract in 2018. Actually, let's
Yeah,
get back even further than that. Let's go schoolboy rugby. So you
yeah,
started playing as a center. Is that
yeah.
correct?
I was always I was always a forward.
Okay.
I was always like a number eight. And then sort of when I was 15, I played my first year of first.
Yeah.
It was in grammar. I sort of started. Got put in as a centre as a 12. And then I played a bit of six, and then pretty much the next 2 years I was just an eight, and with played a few games again as a inside centre. So never really hit, never really was a seven or anything like that until probably grade 12, where I played like Australian schoolboys and Queensland schoolboys as a seven. Um,
So
yeah,
they put
and
you
then
into seven.
yeah, I just felt probably my body shape and height was a seven, but
Yeah.
I also like the way I probably played back was I was a ball carrier, so I was a bit more of an eight, a smaller eight. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Interesting. Okay. And so schoolboy rugby, you had a couple of years in first 15, three years.
yeah, yeah,
Were you, like you said before, that you played a bit of volleyball with the boys when you're like that 14, 15 mark and cricket before? Were you always playing rugby as you grew up or
yeah, yeah. It's been rugby dominated. I've been playing footy since I was like 4 or 5. So yeah, it's always been there.
awesome? That's cool. So 4 or 5, you played for, is it Alambi?
No, Albany Creek.
Albany, sorry. Okay, I read that wrong.
That's right.
I did read it and think, isn't
Yeah,
Alambi
it's
in New
tough.
South
Yeah,
Wales? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Nah, played there.
Albany.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for about 10. I played there for 10 years. So I think I was 4 to 14.
Yeah.
And then I sort of couldn't play club in when I was 15 just because I was doing first and whatnot. So I got a bit too busy there. But yeah, and then pretty much ever since then, it's funny. Like you look back on it now, like when I was 13, 14, I'll play school rugby on the Saturday, club rugby on the Sunday, and I think about it now. It's like I'm bloody
Wow.
bruised and sore
Yeah.
6 days until after a game. Like right back then, you could play. Your young body is just phenomenal. Like
Yeah. Definitely. We take it for granted when we're younger and how much you can put yourself through. And then as you progress, you're like, oh no, I need far more recovery days. There needs to be a lot more just
yeah,
thinking about it rather than doing it. Did
aging
you
is not fun.
did you start rugby because you wanted to play rugby, or was it something your parents put you into? I mean, I'm sure you don't remember it for, but
Oh no, not really. I think I was probably too energetic as a kid, and
yeah,
probably traits of ADHD. So mum and dad were like, "Get him out of the house, get him doing something." I think that's what
exhaust
they
him.
tell me. So yeah,
And it's still working today.
yep,
Okay, so schoolboy rugby. So you play rugby your whole like youth, and you're obviously pretty good. You may end up with in first for a couple of seasons, play Oz schools for 1 year.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Um, did you know at that stage, like when you're in that like 17, 18-year-old category that you're like, I want I want to be a professional rugby player? Like was that like a
Oh,
goal?
I don't know. I can't really remember. I don't think so. I think I came like I didn't really from so I started Queensland schoolboys and then the Australian schoolboys. I was the second seven. Like I captained one of the games, but um, and at that point I was pretty ticked off that I wasn't the starting seven. But I just still enjoyed it, and then didn't really have. I don't think I had any ambition. I was still in school. I was still
Yeah.
I was still enjoying my last year of grade 12 and, just having a lot of fun, with my mates and kind of relishing in that. I had real no ambition. I just knew that I was going to play footy next year at Brothers. Um, and that's probably where I probably found the love of the game again, just because at school we didn't do too well. We struggled a fair bit. And then once we got to Brothers, it was more about as you know, the
Community.
social side of
Yeah.
things and,
Yeah.
not so much the footy. We played really good footy and we're very, very good in the grand final and everything like that. But it was more just what you did off the field, having a beer and really relishing in that side made me enjoy it again, and I was able to play my best footy.
Yeah, it's nice. And that's exactly how you want to see the progression. You don't want it to be like too laborious early because if it is, you kind of lose the love for something pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, and then you're playing for Brothers. Are you playing Colts or did you go straight into Colts or did you play grade?
Yeah, I went straight in the Colts, and then
Yeah.
I played grade that year as well.
Yeah. And in that same year, you would have been in Oz 20s. Is that right?
No, so I in 2017 I was playing Colts, and then I played about 3 or 4 games of. I only played 3 games because I got injured, but 3 games of first grade, and I did really well. Got a few men in the matches. I was enjoying footy, and then I hurt my ankle, and sort of came back and rushed for like the probably honestly looking back, I didn't rehab it well whatsoever. I was just young. I was 18,
Yeah.
and yeah, young. Anyway, came back and then sort of rushed back, didn't rehab it well enough, and then got back and played grand in the final series. In the grand final, we lost that year, but probably didn't do it too well. And then I got picked in the 2017 NLC country, which is again a shock. Didn't realize that wasn't even a thing. That was with Thorny
Yeah.
coaching. And then, long story short, I couldn't even play. I had to get surgery on my ankle. So
So you really didn't
yeah,
do rehab properly.
yeah. Well, I didn't even at that. I don't even know if I wanted to do it NRC as a 18-year-old. I just was like, what even is this? I just kind of want to enjoy, being able to have a beer. I didn't know. I didn't like. It was a weird time for me. I didn't understand what it was. I didn't know
Yeah.
if I wanted to be a professional rugby player. I didn't know. Um,
Were you
but
studying at
obviously,
the same
probably
time?
yeah, I was
Yeah.
studying as well.
Yeah.
I think I was just naive and wanted to
Just
enjoy
live.
being, a uni student first year out, I think.
Yeah. And then not playing NRC, like that was obviously then the sort of first offering of I could be like that I must be good at this. Would that be like
Yeah.
good enough to be looked at for NRC? Couldn't play, come back to Brothers again for the second season, and then you get picked up for 20s?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, so I was 18 in that NLC. I didn't know what to do. And then I was coming back from 20s. Um, so I was pretty much out all that year, or not that year, it was about 6, 7 weeks, but we just didn't worry about too much about NRC.
Yeah.
Um, and then came back and um, was going really well. Had a camp in January for 20s. Then where I had my syndesmosis with the tightrope, I fractured that ankle. So then I was out for like another 8 to 9 weeks or 8 to 10 weeks. And then my first game back was literally the first test match for I was 20. So, the head coach then was Jason Gilmore.
Yeah.
Love Gilly. He was involved with me all at Queensland through emerging reds and stuff. So, yeah, one of your questions before is, who put faith in me? I think Gilly put a lot of faith in me that year. And, was that my first game back was, back then a test match, my first real taste of it. And then I was able to play the 20s in France that year and then come back for NRC Brothers. And then, yeah, sort of what happened.
Epic, epic. And so then, so you're playing 20s, you get another taste for it the next year. You captain your country in
Yep.
20s, beat New
Yeah.
Zealand for the first time in that Oceania.
Yep.
What a,
Yeah.
like
Which
at that stage, you suddenly going, okay, well, 2018, you also got your Reds contract, right?
yeah. So yeah, after that year, so I was involved in sort of that preseason. Yeah, like you said, and then yeah, I was able to captain, and we beat them 24-0, which is pretty special.
Huge. I remember
Yeah, it
that
was just
game
a
so well.
yeah, it was just a wild time, and then obviously going over to France. I had before that actually I debuted for the Reds, so I had three games. Um, and then yeah, went over to not France, Argentina, sorry, for the World Cup, and yeah, lost in the final by a point, which
Hurt.
again is a funny one. Like yeah, in that we scored in under our first minute, so we scored like 50 seconds into the game, and I was just thinking, oh, this is gonna be a breeze. And then they came back, they played really well, and we missed two penalties, two conversions. They kicked everything, took their points, and they beat us by a point.
That hurts.
Yeah.
At what point in this period now are you thinking, or did you think like I want to play for the Wallabies, or like are you now taking your rugby more seriously? You can see where you could be.
I don't even know if I was thinking about Wallabies then, to be honest. Because I just wanted to focus on the Reds. Like I think that was definitely probably a dream, for sure. Because those 2018 and 2019, I actually went to like I won the Australian Under 20 Player of the Year, so I
Yeah.
was able to go to the Johnny
Award.
Eels medal nights,
Yeah.
the awards nights
Yeah.
as a young fella, and they used to do it back then. They used to do it before they left to the spring tour. So all the Wallabies were there. And, that was definitely something special. And I remember looking up wanting to be there, but I can't really remember if that wasn't a priority. I still had to play for the Reds, and at that time we were very very stacked in terms of players. Wrongness back then was a 7-2, and he was playing a fair bit, so sort of had that goal to sort of play a lot more for Queensland.
So I feel like, and I might be making a huge assumption here, but you like, I don't feel like you're dreaming real big all the time. Like you're kind of focusing on, like, are you, what's in front of me? I focus on that goal. Like, how would you describe yourself as like a process? Like, for me, when I started playing rugby, I was like, I want to play for Australia. So I was always like working along the pathway to how do I get there. Whereas I feel like you're like, I'll live in the moment. I want to play for Brothers, enjoy myself. Okay, cool. Next opportunity comes because I'm in that, like,
Yeah,
because you're present.
I think when I was younger, obviously, I just didn't know really what was happening. I just wanted to enjoy the moment and play some good footy and really like cherish that.
Yeah.
So that came easy. And then I suppose for me, like my first challenge at Super Rugby level was, wrong as Liam Wright was playing this was seven then. I was, sort of the second seven. He never really got injured back then, and obviously we know who he is now. Like he's a great mate, but yeah, he was competition, and he could say the same. It was great, and that's probably I didn't think about anything else. I just knew I wanted to be the seven there, and even further down when I did play for the Wallabies, I was hoops was there.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of hoops, but hoops was competition. So it wasn't for me thinking, oh, I'm going to be there and have all these kind of drastic thoughts and dreams. Obviously they were there, but you can't really. You just got to
Yeah.
focus on what's in front of you. And I suppose for me that was when I did get a opportunity, play good footy and train well and do everything I could.
That's a really interesting, like, part of your journey, I suppose, is that you have always had, some people sort of fall into a position and yes, they always have to like earn their stripes, but you've been in those two, in Reds and Wallabies, constantly had to sort of bide your time almost.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
how do you, other than staying in the moment, and staying in the competition, like how did you deal with that, like mentally and physically? Like,
Well, they're both different. Like for Super Rugby and for Queensland, yeah, it's a bloody B. um, uh, with it probably I didn't realize it, but obviously I made my debut 2019, and
Mhm.
then played a few games there, and then I wanted to play 2020, and obviously I hurt the first three games were South African tour. I hurt my thumb in the preseason, so I missed the first three games. But then I played the last four off the bench. I had some great time, and then COVID hit. And that was a weird time because before COVID hit, obviously, like we had like obviously Angus Blythe, we had Harry Hockings, we had Luke Kahn, we had Isaac Rodder as second rows, and then in the back row there was like Wilso at 8, Brongers was 7 at the time, but then they had Angus Scott Young at 6, and then it turned out before COVID hit, when I was on the bench, there was a rotation, so you know Luke Kahn would be 6 1 week, with Rodder and Hocko on the bench with Blythe, so starting the Blythe on the bench, Youngie would miss out, or Youngie would be 6. One of the other second rows would be on the bench and one would miss out. So it was sort of always working around that rotation. And then after COVID hit, Roddo and Hocko left. So it sort of just had a gap for me, fortunately. And then pretty much after that, I was able to move to 7 pretty much straight away. Rongers was 6 with Youngie. There was a few times where he went to 7 that year, but after that, I was pretty much the 7. Rongers was pretty much the 6. Youngie played a lot in the row, 6 as well, off the bench. But yeah, obviously fortunate enough that COVID happened because we just had so much depth at second row at 6, where I was always sort of that impact player. And then
Yeah.
it sort of fell into place and worked out.
So you're saying that really the only reason you're good is because of a timing opportunity.
Maybe. I don't,
I don't think that's the truth at all. Do you
I just think it worked, and like obviously,
yeah, in your favor?
I'm sure, but things were bound to happen later on. But it just worked out really well that those players left and opened an opportunity. I didn't really have to wait as much time as I thought. Back to your question, it just sort of fell into place with Super Rugby. At that time, maybe I thought it was never going to happen, but I was 21. It just happened so quickly. What Test footy, as you know, I was behind hoops a fair bit, and I was able to learn a lot from him. I was able to play a fair bit too. There was definitely times where I was frustrated that I wasn't playing, but looking back on it now, it was only 2 or 3 years ago. I can understand why. One of the greatest 7s, in Australia, in the world as well. So it was just my youth being probably a bit naive and being angry, but it was nothing I could do, and now having some perspective on it. Like, who am I to be angry about that?
Yeah, but in the same breath, if you weren't angry about it, you wouldn't be backing yourself. And I think
Yeah,
like
of course.
that's part of it. There's always going to be someone that has, you have to sort of play the game with, and they're in favor. And it's when you get your opportunities, you do everything you can to take them. What were you doing anything like what did you do as a rugby player to push your point of difference? Like, did you do extra training? Did you like work on the jackal more than anyone else? Like if Hoops was doing something or Liam Wright was doing something that was like did you go searching for more, or did you just back that you were working hard at training and your opportunities would come?
Yeah, not really searching for more, to be honest. I think I was just enjoying trying to rip in at training as much as I could, get noticed. For me, it was, making sure that I had, a good fitness space. So I was doing a fair bit of that sort of stuff. But yeah, it wasn't like I was searching for anything. I think I just wanted to train really well and make sure that I was fit, make sure I was strong. Obviously, there was times where I want to put more muscle on, so I'd be hitting the gym, but not much really. And in terms of my game, I always back that. It was just what more could I do in terms of being more fit, stronger, a bit bigger. That's probably things I'd try to focus on for sure.
In terms of a selfish number 7 question, like in terms of your breakdown work and like getting over the ball, is that something that you've always just been able to see the opportunity for and go for, or like is it something that
Yeah, it's
yeah
always come pretty naturally to me. Yeah, I'm able to. I don't know. I've always been able to read the play and sort of understand where I might have a chance. But definitely, like I've had to work on it a lot, not just probably the technique itself, but also just understanding and picking my moments. Like definitely, And I've had times, when I was a bit younger where I'd always just go into rucks and you know, could hit 20 a game and maybe only come out with two, but how can I hit four, five and come out with one or two? That's probably where I've had to spend a lot of time, reviewing with coaches, talking about that stuff and really diving into and trying to understand that side of it. But in terms of the actual, technique and being strong on the legs and the hips, I've always, lucky to, have a good base and strong in that position. Just being able to identify it, that's probably the one area where I've had to work a bit.
And in terms of that identification process, is that something that you've done with coaches, or do you do by like, do you like review training or games and look at how many like opportunities and go like, was that really right, or did
Yeah,
that come from other people as well?
I suppose it's there's two sides of it. Maybe if you're previewing an opposition and that's I kind of do it now, but in the past I've definitely had coaches help me with that, and we sort of work out a plan where whether it's off a counter, they're countering, I can put myself in a certain position, try to target. That not always works out because on a field, as you know, like you're thinking so many different things and things just happen,
Yeah.
fatigue. But it's more probably the review of your game, the rucks you hit, the good choices you make, the poor choices you make, and try to identify that and realize, and then, the next week try to, on the field, try to implement sort of, okay, don't go out to win, don't leave yourself short on the D line. All right, I'll go from inside out. If it's a good low chop tackle, fall at my feet, I'll get on the ball. But if it's, a bit of a grapple, they fall. No, okay, don't go on there, just fold around the corner, sort of stuff like that.
Yeah. And then one more question around this. If you're practicing like the physical skill of your breakdown work, are you doing like, is it one-on-one, like, or with a coach, like with a coach and a tackle bag, or are you more focused of doing it inside like training? Because it's hard to do jackal when 9 times out of 10, well, maybe that's just the girls, but we like most of the training isn't live. So then to actually feel the
Mm.
rhythm of being allowed to go for a live breakdown makes it difficult.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
how do
we
you?
don't do too much live stuff. Whether sometimes before a session, like just trying to, well, I've always tend to do it post a session, but even, you know, when it's 15 on 15 and it's body in front or something like that, trying to get in the right moment, and even getting over the ball for a second and then getting up or getting
Yeah.
cleaned out. But even probably now at the Reds, I've been focusing a lot of exercise in the gym. So when we're doing gym sessions, whether that's got a band around and try to a bit of resistance there to testing your core, or trying to do it before a session and just trying to get in there, or afterwards just get pretty much getting smacked by a pad. I think there's definitely ways to get around it. It's kind of difficult, like you said, when there's no of that really live stuff, because not really when you're in weeks and seasons, you don't really get an opportunity to have a proper live. We
Yeah.
don't at all.
No.
So trying to just get, I feel like your body knows what it's like and knows what it's like to be hit. So whether that's before a session, just trying to get your hips low to ground. Um, if you're just trying to get your nervous system sparked, back end of a session, just a pad can run into you, so your nervous system can prepare for that, and then yeah, bit of some stuff in the gym always helps.
Yeah, cool, cool. I'm sure that won't attract a lot of people, that information, but for me, I find it really interesting. It's just,
No,
everyone has their own system or their own like things they've got to do, and breakdowns are unique. Like the getting over a ball is not unique to a seven, but it's something that you've become, you know, pretty iconic for in that skill, as well as obviously your support play. And it's so beautiful watching you and also
oh,
running off each other. Like you just find each other on the field, and it's lovely to watch.
oh, thanks. Yeah, it's always fun playing with Wills. Played with him, missing him out there, but he's all
Yeah.
right. He's enjoying his rehab.
Oh, sure he is. Everyone enjoys rehab. What like in terms of your playing relationship between the two of you guys, like you've obviously been in teams together for a lot of time, which helps.
Yeah.
But like, is that a partnership that you guys have worked on, or is it just something that naturally happens where that he's able to get the ball away a lot in contact and you just run off his hip? and hope for the best.
Definitely, it naturally happens. I played with them. Well, my first game with Wills was we were 11, I think.
Oh,
11, yeah. So 12 maybe. So we played a lot of footy, but we didn't really know each other then. And then only really started like we played cricket together when we were 13. But so we knew obviously of each other, but we didn't start until we were both the brothers. And just through chance of playing with each other and through a lot of games at the Reds and under 20s and all that sort of stuff. And we're great mates, obviously. We're really close. So you're able to talk about it and you're able to identify it. And we always seem to be next to each other. We play similar. Like we see the space, we back ourselves. So, and Wilson's very skillful. So I know he's going to get one away somewhere.
yeah, awesome. It's beautiful to watch. When have you taken a chance? It doesn't have to be a rugby related, but it very well could be, and it paid off.
I'm going to chart. It's a good question. I think I don't think it's rugby related. Oh, probably will say it's rugby related. I probably took a chance on brothers. Um, I didn't. I had a few other clubs. Obviously, it helped that my brother played at brothers, but as brothers are known for, they don't really offer anything. I had definitely some offers. From West. They're a good club that I was very considering going to. They were grammar my school related. They had relations there and they were able to help me out in terms of university stuff and also a few other clubs there that were offering some sort of stuff, but sort of back just enjoying what Brothers was known for and a quality rugby side, and I sort of backed them and it really helped me. And like I said, I've already stated it so many times. They found the way for me
Yeah, it's cool.
for
That's
sure.
cool. And other than Gilly, has anyone else taken a big chance on you?
Obviously Gilly's a big one. Um, Again, Thorny's another one. Took probably a chance on me when I was 18, but probably earlier than that. It was it was my first 15 coaches when I was 15. Julian Gardner and Damon Emtage, they were able to see me as a 15-year-old and able to help me for sure. They'd been around, Jules he's Dual International, and they both were at the Reds, and I think they both coached, somewhat at the Reds. I'm not too sure, but they were able to identify that and really help me.
That's cool. Who was the coach? Was it Gilly that was the coach that put you into seven?
No, it wasn't. No, there was. I don't know who it was, whether it was the selectors of Queensland, which I think that's how it worked back then.
Yeah,
Like the schoolboys, um, selectors would pick the team, and then the coaches would.
coach.
It's very different now. Yeah, I don't really know how it worked, so I don't know. I think Sean Graham from Nudgee at the moment, he coached me as well at Met North, and he had a lot to do with me being a seven there, and yeah, I actually don't really know, to be honest. I just probably just saw this 6 foot person who ran around, so may as well chuck him there, not hooker.
Yeah, yeah, lucky.
Yeah,
Grateful for that. Stay away from the front row.
yeah.
Um, was there a moment when you were like, oh yeah, seven actually does make sense. Like I can get around this position being me, or were you always just like, whatever it takes to get on the field, I'll play?
Well, it didn't make sense. Like 7 and 8, they didn't really mean any different to me. I played the exact same. Probably made more sense being a bit older, 18, 19, 20, when I was never in the lineouts. So,
Yeah,
or like, don't put me there. I'm not that tall. So put like a 6'4" plus at
yeah.
8. Yeah, that's probably where it made sense.
All right. So if we think about like you made your Wallabies like starting debut, is that right in 2022? Or was that,
Yeah.
yeah. How'd that feel? Was that like satisfying? Was that just you're ready for the
Yeah.
next
Well,
opportunity?
it was a weird way to happen. Like, so in that year we played England for that June Test series, and Dave Rennie, he picked a 35-man squad. And at that time, if that was a 36-man squad, I would have been put in it. But his justification, which was very good, was there was Australia A came back and Gilly was head coach there, and it was a lot about actually playing because hoops obviously would have played every game. So playing some Test match level footy, where we were able to play in that Pacific Nations Cup in Fiji. Played Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, great games, and I was able to play a lot. And there was always that, oh, if there's an injury, you'll come straight back in. So I was like, sweet, awesome tour, loved it. Being able to just, Gilly did it really well. Able to just enjoy your time off, play footy, and then got called up into the Argentina squad because we flew over for 2 games over there. And then it literally just came to day of the captain's run of the first Test match, where I just got a call, and it was pretty much Chris Webb, the manager there, was like, "Oh, Fraser just come down to captain's run and fill in for hoops. He's just feeling a bit crook." So I was like, "Sweet," didn't think anything of it. And then obviously there was a few boys whispering. I was like, "Oh, like is he vomiting?" And no one really knew. And then it got to lunchtime, 1 or 2 o'clock, where he obviously had his mental health sort of stuff, and I had no idea about that. And then I just got thrown in to start, so it was pretty wild how that happened. And then I didn't really kind of, thankfully, I didn't have much time to really stress too much or worry if it was just like, oh, I got to switch on here. And then, we're able to do really well. And, I scored a try in that first Test match, which was cool. And, obviously that Test match was a bit different to the second start in Mendoza. But, it was just a cool, whirlwind sort of emotionally weird experience, but grateful.
100%. And it kind of plays into nicely your like stay focused in the moment. I know it's not necessarily what you would say is how you have acted, but that like don't need to think about the bigger picture down the track. Like just do your job right now really well. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what you did. And you didn't have to overthink something. There wasn't time to.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm definitely someone who can overthink something for sure. Quite an emotional person. So for me, like overthinking's my best friend and my arch nemesis at times. So being able to have, I've learned a lot as I've gotten older and being able to understand my processes and having, great people to talk to and coaches, that's definitely helped me as well. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. When you say like your mental processes and considerations around like a test match, I'm curious, like how do you prepare for a game? Like if you try not to overthink things, like do you write down a couple of focus points or do you just literally just try not to now that you've done it enough, like the game day factor? How do you prepare?
I've gone through phases definitely where I try to write some stuff down, then I haven't. I think for me, it's more just making sure that I'm getting, front load the week of that particular game. Um, you know, say kind of Saturday and the Monday, Tuesday, really good gym sessions, getting good recovery in, having a really solid training session, feeling comfortable, feeling confident, whether that's getting my body in front, good tackle, or getting a few good tough carries, or getting my head over the ball. Just feeling good in that area, and then as the week sort of goes, get away from footy. Wednesday, Thursday is always pretty light. Try to get away. Captain's run again, switching for that, then get away, and then obviously probably come morning of the game, I'll probably try to visualize and have a little think, do some stretching, and then sort of rolling with that. I try to not think about it too much. There's also been times where maybe that it hasn't been a good thing. Maybe there's been times where I probably need to, think about it a lot earlier of that day to try to switch on. So it's just a working, I'm still trying to figure it out. Obviously, I know it worked for me, but sometimes I don't really want to have a big thought. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And it's an ever evolving beast, right? Like no one's perfect at it because the game of rugby isn't, it's impossible to have a perfect game. So we're always going
Yeah,
to
of
be
course.
challenging ourselves to, try something different, try something you haven't done. Does it work? Does it not work? Do you visualize what's the anthems happening? Are you
Yeah,
already
exactly.
done by then? So cool. Cool that it changes all the time and you're not stuck in a certain way.
Yeah.
Um, is there something that you're doing? It might be reading, listening to, or learning outside of rugby that's making you think. You did mention accounting.
Yeah, I've got uni. I know I am reading at the moment. I've read a few good books.
Fiction
I'll probably say
or
that.
help help books? What sort
No,
of
health
books?
books.
Yeah.
Or I read the Wim Hof book.
Oh
It's
yeah.
interesting, but I've also just finished the Comfort Crisis,
Fan or
which was
fan?
pretty.
Fan.
Yeah, it was very interesting, pretty cool. Just depict sort of like how we live a huge comfort state of now compared to our ancestors and how probably our bodies were originally built for, and how we it's no accident that we feel happier in nature and the simple things, and it's this whirlwind experience, and it's just great to and interesting. Talks about obesity, talks about what our bodies were made for and how that's just changing. It's a cool book.
Yeah, cool.
And then yeah.
You got something else or that?
Oh no, I was just now I'm reading. That's pretty cringe, but the David Goggins book,
I
the
which one? Can't hurt
the
us.
first one, Can't Hurt Us. Yeah, easy
I
book to read and
Yeah, I'm
pump.
not a huge
Yeah,
fan of David Goggins personally. I found him a little bit
yeah.
too
Well, that's
extreme.
probably there's the two ways of it. Yeah, there's either really too extreme, and speaking to some of my like army friends, he's like very very extreme, and sure he's a hard tough man, but I'm just not too sure. I'm still like only 100 pages in, so I think it's the first 100 pages about like his background and like his youth, and that's very interesting. But I'm sure as the book goes on, I'll have my opinions.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you think because
Yeah,
I enjoyed the journey of his book, but I didn't by the end of it I was like, oh, he's so American.
yeah, that's fair.
But cool. And to wrap things up, is there a piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Um, yeah, plenty of advice. There's definitely heaps there. Um, Probably say two things: don't sweat the small stuff. Like in the moment, you might think it's huge, but in reality, it's probably very small.
Yeah.
um, I've had a fair bit of that, and really being able to just control what you can control. Try to sweat. Again, like been many times I've overthought stuff that isn't in my control and what I thought were huge things, but they're not. They're not in my control and they're small. So just try not to worry about that. And again, like process, it's definitely been something I've had to learn a lot about, and understand and about myself and about the process of footy and trying to get away and work life balance. So just controlling what you can control. I think that's a lot of people, if they can identify that early and understand that really early on, you're in a good position.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, Fraser, for joining me on Life of Chance podcast. Enjoy
No
the
worries.
rest of
Thanks
your
again for having me.
Friday off.
Hey, cheers. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
No worries.